Good afternoon, present. We gather here for workshop on continuation of question paper settings organized by our college controller of examinations. Yes, I would like to invite our college controller of examiner, Dr. B. Mahesh Kumar, to give welcome address. Sir.
Thank you, sir. Most respected Secretary, sir, eminent guest of honor, Dr.K.SUMATHI, madam, respected Principal, madam, respected Director of our college self-finance courses, my dear colleagues, warm good afternoon to everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this second day workshop on question paper settings. Yesterday, our resource person briefed us about the basics of OBE and question paper settings. Today, she will cover rubrics, revised Bloom taxonomy, and pattern to set the questions in each level. Since it's a brief welcome address, I didn't take much time. Once again, I extend my hearty welcome each one of you to this workshop. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Over to Muthu Selvam.
Thank you for your warm welcome. Yes, we are entering into the session. The session is over to you now. Ma'am, please go.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
So, in continuation with yesterday's workshop, I just start with the rubric. Rubric is an assessment. I start with rubric. A rubric is an assessment tool that clearly indicates achievement criteria across all the components of any kind of syllabus, from written to oral to visual. It can be used for marking assignment, class participation, or overall. So, when you are thought of assessment method or assessment, the first thing is to come to your mind is how will you assess the performance of the student. So that's we is the resilience, and that is the rubric. So there are two types of rubrics. One is OBE and another one is analytic. The rubric for assessment usually in the form of a matrix or it is a tool used to interpret and grade students' work against criteria and standards. Rubrics are for criteria sheet, grading scheme, or rubrics. Rubrics can be for any content domain. Rubrics can be used to classify any product or behavior, such as essay, research report, review, works of art, research. Today, students program. Use program assessment in a here your faculty member can design the rubric to be adopted for any particular type of assessment. Faculty members can use rubrics in classes and they aggregate data across the sections. Right from close the advanced and practically in product and then agree.
Madam, excuse me, madam. Madam.
Two student product together. Yeah.
Madam, your voice is breaking, ma'am.
Oh. So, is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay, ma'am.
Faculty can participate in group readings in different products together, and this is what we have. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are two types of rubrics. One is holistic, the other one is analytic. In the holistic rubrics, we group several different assessment criteria and classify them together and its achievement levels. In other words, it is a single criteria rubrics. It is one dimension. I give you an example. In COE, participatory learning is getting importance. So for participatory learning, you have to give class participation marks. Then you will not know how to assign marks because I am dealing with 16 members in a class. So when I deal with 16 members in a class, how I can give marks for class participation? So what I have done is, I will just give 6 points to a person who is always prepared. In OBE, we give the syllabus, we give the template, and also we are giving how it has to be adopted, what will be the teaching aid, whether it is blackboard demonstration or it is going to be a PowerPoint presentation, it is going to be a role play, or is it going to be a group discussion? Everything I am giving in advance by giving the syllabus itself. So in that case, the student is prepared, and how much time will be used for each topic. So if it is in the third hour, what is the topic covered? That will be given in advance to the student. And the student coming always prepared, and he attends almost nearly all the classes. And then he is participating constructively in class and models leadership for others and on teams. Whether he is willing to listen in class, whether he is exhibiting kindness and punctuality in class, just attending the class is not enough. He has to be punctual to the class also. So I am making it, that is also one criteria. And is he showing an initiative and improvement without prompting? When I post a question in the classroom, whether the answer is coming back to me immediately without pointing out the name of the student. In the case, I give 6 points to the student who is responding and who is satisfying all these criteria. And suppose one student today, he is usually prepared and he attends most of the class. See, in the previous case, nearly all the classes about that particular person, then he will give the answer completely, even though he is not volunteering immediately. In that case, for such a student, I will award 5 points. Then I just take out another student who is having 4 points. I give the student who is sometimes prepared and he attends many classes and he is having an average content knowledge. Additionally, or only challenge is taught when encouraged by others. Is already reflecting average score. And this person will be sometimes active in the class and he will be working fairly well with others. In the case, such type of participation will be given 4 points. And to whom I should give 3 points? The person who is rarely prepared. He will never turn up the book. He will just come to the class as it is. He will take it back. He will go home he will keep the bag, and again he will pick up the bag next day, and he will be coming and attending the class. And he will be attending only few classes. And he rarely participates constructively in class. And assignments are always late, incomplete, or he is not at all subject in the assignment. And he is having a low level of content knowledge. Inactive participant. Works reluctantly with others. Sometimes shows a close-minded disposition with regard to feedback and challenge. So such kind of students will be about 3 points. See, classroom participation is one where most of us, we do not know how much mark has to be given. Whereas in OE, we are expecting participatory learning from the students. So class participation plays a very, very crucial role in awarding of marks. So what I have done is, I have just picked a few points. I have given few criteria based upon which I am going to award marks for class participation of my students. My main criteria is attendance inside the classroom, and the second one is attendance. The third criteria is extremely very good knowledge. The fourth criteria is he must either be a leader or a team player. So likewise, I have summarized a few criteria for class participation. So my rubrics is based on these criteria I have given. So, and he is not present enough to judge participation and interaction or undermining others, whether he is okay or not. And he is close-minded disposition with regard to feedback, challenge, and course contents. Even if I call him, I have spoken to him. See, it's not like this. You have to improve yourself, and he is having a close-minded disposition. So, for such student, for class participation, I am going to award one till 0 points. Now, this is the rubric I have designed for class participation. So, how do I give 6 points? I have certain criteria. And how I am going to give 5 points? For that also I have certain criteria. How I am going to give 4 points? 3 points? No points. Now, this rubric. 1 mark or 2 marks. One mark or 2 marks are not at all awarded as per this rubrics. So what shall I do? Shall I rewrite my rubrics, or shall I keep moving with this? Am I going to proceed with this type of? This is what I have to check, right? Now, people know this 4-point scale, because I have started with a 6-point scale. Instead, I can go on with a 4-point scale. So, maximum marks awarded will be 4, then 3, 2, 1, and 0. So that there will not be any gap in this rubrics. Okay, once I have said about a holistic rubrics, there is another classification of rubrics, which is said to be analytic rubrics. In holistic rubrics, we have summarized, some descriptions are given, qualitative measurements are given in the holistic rubrics. Whereas in analytic rubrics, it is a 2-dimensional rubric. In contrast to holistic rubrics, which is 1-dimensional, here analytic rubrics is 2-dimensional. So in a 2-dimensional rubrics, for one criteria, I am just giving different levels of achievement. Different levels of achievement are given as columns and assessment criteria given as rows. This allows you to assess participants' achievements based on multiple criteria using a single rubric. You can assign different weights to different criteria and include an overall achievement by totaling the criteria. And this analytic rubrics, it is written in a table form. See, again, I have given. It is a 2-dimensional rubrics. For an essay, I have given the student an essay writing or a report writing. So the criteria which I have decided are knowledge, terminology. Is he familiar with the terminology? Then the second criteria is critical and creative thinking skills, and how communicative skills of the student is, and quality of argument and writing. Finally, spelling and grammar. Based on these 5 criteria, I am going to marks. And for that also, what I have done is, if the student has demonstrated only limited knowledge of forms, he is getting confused with the conventions and terminologies and strategies, then he will be given only 50 to 59 points. It is only adequate. And if he has a fairly good knowledge, then I will be. If he shows some knowledge of forms, then he will be awarded with completed. That is 60 to 69%. If he demonstrates considerable knowledge of forms, conventions, terminology, and strategies, then he will be given a good grading, or he will be given marks ranging from 70 to 79. And if he demonstrates thorough and insightful knowledge of forms, conventions, terminology, and strategy, then he will be given marks from 80 to 100. That is, an excellent grading will be given to the student. See here, the variation, whoever is going to give, the variation becomes limited. The variation, if it is assigned excellent, then marks range is only from 80 to 100. A person will not give 40 marks for a person he is demonstrating a thorough and insightful knowledge of forms, and critical and creative thinking in the same manner. If he uses critical and creative thinking skills with limited effectiveness, then I will give it as adequate description, or I will give marks ranging from 50 to 59. And if it is moderate effectiveness, then I will be giving him a mark in 60 to 69. If it is a considerable effectiveness, then we are going to give him a good grading, or the marks will be awarded somewhere between 20 to 79. And if he uses critical and creative thinking skills with high degree of effectiveness, then we will be awarding him an excellent grading, or his marks will range from 80 to 100. Similarly, how well he has communicated the information, even though he has analyzed the data, he has analyzed the problem, everything he has done, is he good enough to communicate it in a very clear manner? If the information is communicated only with limited clarity, then only 50 to 59% will be given. And if the information is given with some clarity, then I will go for 60 to 69%. And if the communication and ideas are given with considerable clarity, then we will give him marks awarded from 70 to 79%. And finally, if it is exhibiting, if the student is exhibiting a very high degree of clarity and with confidence, then we will give him 80 to 100%. And how is the quality of the argument? And what about spelling and grammar? The same criteria, same type of things I am using. So several mistakes, so many mistakes in spelling and grammar, then we will be giving only grading from 50 to 59. Only few errors are found, then we will give him 60 to 69%. And some errors in spelling and grammar, very few here and there, then we will give him a mark from 70 to 79. No errors in spelling and grammar, then we can give him 80 to 100% for spelling and grammar. So, in an analytic you are splitting it into a two-dimensional matrix. See, similarly, holistic rubrics are presentations. Similar, whether it is a similar presentation or a group presentation, whatever it is. Then, how do you give a holistic rubric? So, in a holistic rubric, if the presenter is speaking with clarity and he is having eye contact of the presentation, He used more than 2 visual aids, including multimedia, and he has been standing straight without hands in pockets. He has answered questions and spoke for more than 5 minutes. Then for this presentation, I will give the score full 5 points. So in the seminar session also, do we have rubrics like this? Seminar, if it is included for the internal component as 5 points, how I am going to about this 5 score? The presenter spoke clearly most of the time, even if it is not for the entire period of 5 minutes. He has spoken clearly for most of the time. He has looked down at notes sometimes, but mostly he has delivered his lecture without me having any notes, and he has tried eye contact most of the time. He has used 2 visual aids and mostly stood up straight, answered 1 or 2 questions, and spoke for 40 minutes. Then I will give the score as 4. The presenter spoke clearly for part of the time, not 4 to 5 minutes. He spoke only for 2 to 4 minutes. And he has not used any media tools. And he has stood straight for part of the time. He has answered 1 question. And most of the time, he was looking at the notes. But few times he has taken his eye out and eye contact a few times. That is award him at 3.4. The presenter is not speaking. He has made eye a few times and he has used visual aid and he has put it in box a few times. He has answered questions and spoke for 1 to 2 minutes. Then I will give 2. The presenter was difficult to understand. He did not look up from the notes. And he did not have any visual aid. Then he has put the hand in pockets for most of the presentation, did not answer questions, and he spoke for less than 1 minute. Then how can you give 5 or full marks? He will be given only 1 point score. This is the last case. The presenter did not prepare for a presentation at all. Then I am going to give him only a 0 score. Now, when a criteria is classified like this rubric will help you and as well as your student to look for what are the things to be done. If you have not designed this criteria, this rubrics, and if it is not revealed to the students, what he will do is he will come and put his hands in the pockets. And he will stand in before you and he will be leaning on the table and then he will be delivering his lecture. If he knows that he will not be given marks for such kind of posture, then he will not do it. Similarly, he has to speak for 5 minutes. It is made very clear. If it is the person has delivered for more than 5 minutes, then the score will be 5. If it is only from 4 to 5 minutes, the score will be 4. Then all the students will try to speak for more than 5 minutes. So this rubric will guide both the faculty member as well as the student to have a very clear picture of assessment. Actually, I will give you another rubric because I want to show you the rubrics need not be unique. If it is an essay, இது மட்டும்தாங்க பார்ப்போம். அப்புறம் எங்க காலேஜ்லயே மொத்த காலேஜுக்கும் சேர்ந்து இதுதான் rubrics. No such cases. Each faculty member can have his or her own rubrics. And for every assignment, whether it is essay number 1, essay number 2, essay number 3, for each and every assessment, you can have a different rubrics. See, for example, already we have discussed a rubric for an essay. Similarly, again I am just making another rubric for essay. Here, no descriptor. Then what we have done is we have used both these scalings. Description was the good, adequate, etc. Also, the mark scoring was 50 to 59, then 60 to 69, then 70 to 79. Similarly, 80 to 100, and then the marks grading was also has been given. whereas here I am using the rubric on a 4-point scale. So the maximum scoring which I am going to award is only 4. So it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what are the criteria based on which I am going to measure the learning skills or learning outcomes of the student? So first thing is essay should show comprehension of text. So if it is showing a thorough and thoughtful understanding of the text, I will give 4 marks. And if shows a comprehensive understanding, then I give only basic understanding of the text, I will give 2. Limited understanding, I will give 1. And little understanding, I will give 0. Similarly, textual evidence I want to include. So at least he should have referred 2 to 3 textbooks. So it includes at least 3 specific textual details that clearly support each and every topic sentence. And he has used at least 2 sentences of commentary per concrete detail. In that case, I will give him 4 marks. Otherwise, if he includes only 3 specific textual details, in the previous case, it should have at least 3. Whereas here, this student has included only 3 specific textual details that generally support each topic sentence. In that case, I will give him 3 marks. The other person, if he has included 2 to 3 general textual details, then we will give him 2 marks. And he does not, the person who has not included any textual details will be given only 0 marks. Hence, now for essay, earlier we had a different rubric. Now here for this essay, not only these 2 criteria, I have added some more criteria which is to be continued in the next slide. Organization. How well the essay is organized, including a strong introduction, thesis statement that directly connects to 3 body paragraphs, and thought-provoking conclusion. If it is vague, then I will give him 4. Essay is organized. All the necessary elements are present. The thesis is present, but not well supported. Then I will give just 3 marks. Essay is somewhat organized. Intro includes a weak thesis statement. Body paragraphs do not connect well to the thesis. In this case, we will give only 2 marks. Similarly, essay is only 1 paragraph and it does not have any appearance of organization. No thesis statement. Then I will award only 0 marks. Then what about another criteria which is based on which the marks will be awarded? Formal voice. Colloquial language in essay. So if he uses a variety of sentence types and precise descriptive language to establish formal voice, in that case I will give him 4. Uses a variety of sentence types and some descriptive language to establish formal voice, in that case we will give him 3 marks. He uses mostly simple and compound sentences. No, what to say? He is including some descriptive language. In that case, we will give him 2 marks. And he uses no sentence variety. First sentence and last sentence. Then the voice is not formal at all. In that case, we will give him 0 marks. Same 4 criteria will be enough. Not necessarily. I can go in for adding 2 more criteria. Sentence fluency and grammar. If it is containing 0 to 1 grammatical or syntax error, I will award 4 marks. If it is containing 2 to 3 grammatical or syntax error, 3 marks. And it contains serious grammatical errors, I will give only 0 marks. See now, then the student knows that marks will be awarded not only for textual references and the conceptual understanding, also for grammar and fluency in the language. Then the student will be looking seriously into the writing style of his assignment. And also, even if he cannot do it, at least he will go for spell check and grammar checking in the Word document. And then finally, format. How he is submitting his assignment. All formal specifications are followed. That is, 12.1 in Times New Roman, 1-inch margin, double spaced. Fully correct. Given 4 marks. One format specification was not followed. 12-point font in Times New Roman, 1-inch margin, double spaced. Somewhere he has not missed. Then maybe in one of the topics he has used instead of Times New Roman, he has used something else. Then we will give him only 3. Then 2 format specifications were not followed. In the case with the 12-point font instead of Times New Roman, he has used Analytic, or he has used monotype cursiva. And instead of 1-inch margin, he has given 1.5-inch margin, so that the entire document will be elongated. It will have more number of pages. So for that, he has skipped that 1-inch margin. Instead of this page, he has gone for variable spacing. 3 space he has given. In that case, then I will give him only 2 points. 3 or more format specifications were not followed, as I explained in the earlier case. Then the text was not typed. Then I am going to give. So this is the way which for this one essay assessment, I have one teacher has given a different set of rubrics, whereas I have taken out for a different set of rubrics. Right? So why do we want to use rubrics? This rubrics help students and teachers define quality. So when I say this is my rubric, that I'm expecting it in a specific format, all my assignments will be uniform. The uniformity will automatically be ensured in my documents. And if I say there should not be any grammatical mistakes, definitely student will be checking and rechecking for grammatical mistakes even if he has not understood the concept. So his communication skill will be developed. Here his IT skills, soft skills will be developed. So this will help me to ensure quality. Well, students use rubrics regularly to judge their own work. So when I have told him this is the expectation of my assessment. So in this assessment, I'm going to go use these following criteria by assessing your essay. Then what the student will do, he himself will check. Because when you do cut and paste, sometimes what happens, instead of Times New Roman, some other calligraphy will be appearing, or the font size may not be uniform. So the student will be checking and rechecking at least for the format. So that will help the students to judge his own work. And rubrics reduce the time teachers spend on grading the students' work and makes it easier for teachers to explain to students what they have given that particular grade they did and what they can do to improve. So obviously, when you know that the rubrics, you have awarded 4 points for one criteria, only 1 point on another criteria, you can immediately call your student and you can tell him, so I have not given you the marks. I have reduced the marks. So that will help the students to know where he has gone wrong. And you can tell the students, see, you should have referred at least 3 textbooks. Whereas in your assignment, you have referred only 1 textbook. The next time the child will go to the library, he will find out more number of texts and he will come back with the assignment which is including more than 3 to 4 textual references. Hence, next time when I evaluate an assignment, when I assess, it will make my work easier. Also, I am being non-judgmental. I am judging the work only based on what the student has submitted and based on certain criteria, whereas I am not prejudiced. And parents usually like the rubrics concept once they understand it. This was said by a teacher. They know exactly what their children needs to do to be successful. Because the assignment or your assessment, it tells everyone where the particular student is lacking. Whether he is lacking in the communication skill or he is lacking in the presentation skill, or whether he has not done his homework properly, or whether he has not grasped the concept correctly. All these things, they will come out very clearly when you are doing this rubrics. And the rubrics are used to provide timely feedback. Grading can be done more quickly, and rubrics prepare students to use detailed feedback. Then rubrics encourage critical thinking, because like this, a student has to think based on the rubrics. What is the expectation of the assessor? What is the expectation of the educator? Then he will be reforming and he will be working on those lines. And it facilitates communication with others. And rubrics help faculty redefine their teaching skills. They go over this, over the criteria. What I will be having is, I will be having a matrix in which I have 16 marks. Then on one criteria, 16 marks are lower. Then what I will do, I will know that I have not that particular concept very clearly in my class. Therefore, what I will be doing is, I will be modifying my teaching and I will be modifying my teaching strategy. Therefore, it will help the faculty members also to redefine their teaching skills. Rubrics help level the playing field for non-native speakers of English. That is very important, because sometimes Tamil medium உட்கார்ந்துருப்பாங்க, அவங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப கஷ்டம் இருக்கும், நம்ம என்ன செய்ய சொல்றோங்கிறதே புரியாம இருக்கலாம். So அவங்களுக்கு இந்த மாதிரி rubrics நீங்க கொடுக்கும்போது, they will know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Rubrics can act as a translation device to help students understand what teachers are talking about. So நம்ம எவ்வளவுதான் நீங்க சொன்னாலும், இங்க பாருப்பா, நீங்க ஒரு மாதிரி நல்ல ஒரு அசைன்மெண்ட் சப்மிட் பண்ணுங்க, அதனுடைய பிரசன்டேஷன் நல்லா இருக்கணும், நீங்க இவ்வளவு தூரம் சொன்னாலும் உங்களுக்கு புரியாது. That is rubricsல இந்த based on this, நான் வந்து I'm expecting only 12 point Times New Roman. It has to be there. 1 inch மார்ஜின் எல்லா பக்கமும் இருக்கணும், இல்லைன்னா 3 மார்க் தான் கொடுப்பேன் அப்படிங்கறத நீங்க rubricsல போட்டு காமிச்சிட்டீங்கன்னா, then automatically the student will understand what is to be done and what is not to be done. So, what are the parts of a rubric? First thing is a task description. An assignment has to be planned. What is the assignment you are planning? Whether it is an essay or it is a presentation, and or what is a role play or a group discussion. So we have discussed the 14 assessment tools, and out of these 14 assessment tools, which is the task you are going to give your student? Even you can give poster presentation to your student. And so for poster presentation also, you should have color schemes எப்படி இருக்கு, அவங்க வந்து அதனுடைய mixing எப்படி பண்ணிருக்காங்க, layout how it is. So you can go with the different criteria for poster presentation. So whatever you are doing, you have to first describe your task. So an assignment has to be finalized. Then a scale of some sort, that is level of achievement, possibly in the form of grades, that has to be decided. And scales typically range from 3 to 5 levels. See, you can have any number of rubrics criteria, and you can award marks right from 0 to 100 also. So for criteria 1, I will be giving this half a mark. If he is satisfying this, 1 mark, 2, 3 marks, like that. And for 100 marks also you can have. But these scales, if you go higher and higher, it is very difficult. It is going to be very difficult even for us also. Therefore, what we are doing is, the scales we are limiting only to 3 to 5 levels to a maximum. Because for that also we have a concept. Why MCQ was the multiple choice questions are included only with 4 choices. See, when you are given with only 2 choices, the person without knowing the answer getting the full mark, the chances are 50%. Whereas when you go for 3 choices, then without knowing the concept, the person who is going to get the mark is, he will get 33%. mark possibility is 33% because 1/3 of the choice. When you go for 4 choices, then getting marks without knowing the concept is only 25%. And when you go for 5 choices, then it is only 20%. You just see the difference. Originally, when you start with 2 choices, it is only 2%. 50%. Then we come down to 33%. We are coming down to 25%. Then 20%. If you move down, it is going to be 16%. So, the difference is coming out. And then, that is why we are limiting it either to 4 point or 5-point scale. Similarly, here also, when you go higher after 5-point scale, there will not be much and the range the very changes. Therefore, the scale can basically change from 3 to 5 levels. Then the dimensions of the assignment, you have to break down what are the skills and knowledge level involved in the assignment. That is very important. So what sort of skills is expected of the student and what level of knowledge is expected of the student that is involved in that assignment, that you have to design. The dimension of assignment has to be decided. Then description of what constitutes each level of performance. So you have to give a specific feedback to the student. And how to use the rubrics with your students. Self-assessment. Rubrics can help students self-improve if you encourage students to self-evaluate using the rubric before turning in their assignment. So once you have decided upon your assignment, you have to give your rubrics to your students. Once you have given the rubrics to the students, you increase them. See, based on this rubric, how much mark you will be giving it to your assignment. So let him check. And if he is satisfied, okay, and I 10 marks were up. If he is satisfied, then let him submit. So the designing of rubrics, once you decided upon the assessment task, then before giving it to the student, you have to give, along with the assignment, you have to give this rubrics also to your students so that you can encourage your students to self-work. Also, peer assessment. Get the students to work in pairs and evaluate each other's work. Ask them to compare the results of self and peer assessment. நான் அசஸ் பண்ணா என்னுடைய அசைன்மெண்ட் எவ்வளவு மார்க் தரேன், அதே என்னுடைய ஃப்ரெண்ட் அசஸ் பண்ணாங்கன்னா how much mark will I get? If it is similar, ask him what is the reason, because he will tell you based on which criteria this was given. And if it is a difference, then also you just explain the reason why there is a difference between the two. In both the cases, whether the peer assessment is similar or different, you have to tell them how the rubrics have worked in their assessment and share the assessment results given by an expert and help them to develop an action plan for improvement from synthesizing all results and then give them the feedback. So here you just evaluate. Also, you just give it to some other person, probably a co-teacher, with her or him, you just submit the assignment, ask him to give him a feedback and share that assessment result also to your students. So that number teacher the other teacher is also feeling in the same manner. So that the student will tend to think where to improve and how to improve. Now, this rubrics, it has to be used to generate quality feedback, and this feedback is an integral part of outcome-based education and the assessment practices. So what you have to do is, mark rubrics give students a clear picture of their strengths and weaknesses than a few comments written in their papers or reports. So when giving comments or feedback, always use a rubric as the fundamental reference for your feedback. See, I have given 6 criteria for evaluating a essay. So based on which criteria the mark was reduced, that comment has to be written. Based on rubric 2, I have reduced 3 marks. Then that will give him a more clear picture that 10 out of, I have given you only 5 out of 10. That will not speak him what is his strength or what is his weakness. Whereas when you give him, see, on the conceptual basis, I have given you 4 marks. For communication, I have given 3 marks. Whereas for grammatical mistakes and the spelling mistakes, I have reduced 4 marks. Then that will tell him that he has to concentrate more on grammatical and spelling mistakes. And for teaching staff also, rubrics include feedback for teaching staff. If many students find it difficult to demonstrate understanding of a particular concept, then this rubric will bring this to your attention. The conceptual level, nobody has scored more than 2 marks. Automatically, that implies that you have not taught the concept in the correct manner. Then you have to correct yourself. And that helps with refining the assessment activities or methods needed. And very, very clearly from the beginning, as I was told, this rubrics must be transparent and has to be spelled out clearly to both students and staff. And how to establish the validity and reliability of the rubrics. So whenever you set a rubric, you have to check the following questions. Does the rubric reflect the learning outcomes? That is the first and foremost question that has to be answered in your rubric. Is the rubric measuring the skills and the competencies of which the learners are intended to develop? Will that rubric brings out that? Is it measuring that skills and competencies? For example, your paper, it aims at developing a soft skill, or if it is aims at developing an entrepreneurial skills, then that entrepreneurial skill component is given importance in your rubric. Is the rubric practical and feasible? That is very important. Only color print with so many multimedia tools involved, then who will submit the assignment? So your rubric must be practical and feasible. And but different assessors award the same marks or grades to each other. This rubric, as I told you, it should not be judgmental. So whether I am giving marks or my colleague is going to evaluate the rubric, under that rubric, I must get the same mark. Otherwise, my rubric is not correct. And is the rubric fair to all learners? See, the rubric, you might have seen, it is starting with an average, so that even the average learner will get a passing minimum. Like that, I will fix whether he is a slow learner or a fast learner. If he has put in a sincere effort, that I am underlining. If the student has put in a sincere effort, definitely under my rubric, he must be able to score a passing minimum. And if he is not put in a sincere effort, then he must get a 0. Is my rubric ensures that? So how do I create a good rubric? To create your own rubric, you have to follow these steps. You have to list the criteria that will be used in assessing performance in the first column. The criteria you use should be related to the learning outcome that you are assessing. For example, if it is a musical performance, it might be rated for intonation, rhythmic accuracy, and tone quality, and an oral presentation might be rated for content, organization, delivery, and language. So, whether it is an art subject or a science subject, you cannot have this in rubric. Then you determine your performance ratings or levels in the first row. Examples of performance ratings may be, as I have shown you in the example, it can either be a descriptor or it can be a number. So, as a descriptor, you can have it is in progress, basic, proficient, advanced, or as in the case, it is average, good, excellent, and you can award scorings in numbers also. One question it should bring out the inherent learning outcomes of the students. It must be a tool which will help us to identify whether the student has understood the learning outcomes or not. Okay. So, next, who can ask a good question? Only a good teacher can ask a good question. To question well is to teach well. Only when you teach well, you will be asking a very good question paper. You will be confident to meet the in-semester examination. அப்ப இங்க நல்லா டீச் பண்ற ஒரு டீச்சருக்கு என்ன கொஸ்டின் பேப்பர் வருமோ அப்படிங்கிற பயப்பட வேண்டிய அவசியமே இல்லை. இன்-செமஸ்டர் எக்ஸாமினேஷன்ல என்ன வந்தாலும் என்னுடைய ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் எழுதுவாங்கங்கிற ஒரு மைண்ட் செட்ல இருக்கலாம். In the skillful use of questions, more than anything else, lies the fine art of teaching. So how well you are going to set your question paper, it talks about how well you have taught the subject to your students. So what are the types of questions? There are different types of questions you can ask. One is questions that require clarifications. Why did you say that? What does that mean? How does this relate? These are questions seek for clarifications. And certain questions. Can you validate that? Are asking, especially mathematics, there will be a lot of assumptions and approximations that will be involved in our. So the realizations and assumptions can be validated. The questions probing reasoning and evidence. What do you think the causes are and why? Is there any evidence or facts that support this? How complex is the issue? Then questions probing perspectives. That how the students is looking at the concept. Is there another way to look at this? What are the arguments to the contrary, if any? Can you provide an overall rationale? And questions probing implications. This will find out whether the student knows how to find out the consequences of the concepts. What consequences can you see arising? Can a generalization be made? When I say one particular number is a prime number, what type number is a prime number, can I say every number of that type will be a prime number? So can a generalization be made? Then questions about the question itself. Is this question relevant? Why does this mean in a practical? What does this mean in a practical terms? So irrelevant questions கேட்க கூடாது. And question teach பண்றது மட்டும்தான் என்னுடைய வேலை. Question paper setting என்னுடைய வேலை. இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு temperament the teachers should not have, because it is mandatory regulatory requirement by the government GVO. As per the government GVO, teachers are expected to prepare question papers. Papers prepared by external agencies should not be used for the assessment practices. And teachers' questioning skills need to be developed. Teachers are expected to continue preparing new questions to add to the question bank. So question bank, question banks are not required. You cannot say, because it is the regulatory measure that has been imposed by the government itself. So open-ended questions as far as possible has to be asked. So what are these open-ended questions? We will see in the next slide. Then questions which demand creative responses, that you have to do. Then you have to prepare questions based on variety of objectives like knowledge, application, understanding, skill, appreciation, etc. Questions based on not learning mechanical reply should not be encouraged. So what is this open and closed-ended questions? A closed-ended question can be answered either a single word or a short phrase. An open-ended question is likely to receive a long or multiple answers. So what are the characteristics of a closed-ended question? Closed-ended questions uses facts and they are easy and quick to answer. And they keep control of the conversation. Yes or no, what a answer. Either yes or no or true or false or one word answer. So I know correction is easy and keeping control of the conversation is also very easy. Whereas in open-ended questions, they ask the respondent to think and reflect. They are expecting the student to give opinions and feelings and they take control of the conversation. What the student is thinking, to bring that out, you have to ask more questions. And in the open-ended questions, there's no fixed method. No fixed answers or many possible answers. And they can be solved in different ways and on different levels. See, again, whether it is OBE or it is a continuous assessment system, always we assess the students continuously. It is continuous assessment system. So we cannot think I will be taking up 2 internal examinations, CA1 and CA2, and model examination, and then end semester examination. With this 4, my assessment will be over. We cannot talk like that. It is continuous internal assessment. So every day you are assessing your students. Every minute you have to be helping your students to ensure the learning outcomes are achieved by the student. You have to offer the student room for own decision making and natural mathematical way of thinking. Here by mathematical way of thinking, I mean logical and sometimes intuitive ways of thinking also. And you have to develop reasoning and communication skills that is achieved only by open-ended questions. And it should be open to students' creativity and imagination. And it focuses on students' understanding and ability to reason and apply knowledge. So when you are preparing a questionnaire, you have to remember the following things. First and foremost, you have to read the content thoroughly before setting up a question paper. It is not enough if you go through the syllabus. Okay, I'll go through the syllabus. I'll just ask, state and prove Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem. Next question, state and prove Coimbatore theorem. Then define. No such cases. I'll just go through the syllabus or write short notes on cell division. Like that, don't do it. Read the content thoroughly and decide the types of questions to be prepared. Whether it has to be a multiple choice question or whether it should be a short answer or whether it should be a essay type question, a particular topic that you have to. And you prepare the blueprint for proper distribution of weightage given to one topic or one unit. So you just decide upon what should be the blueprint for the proper distribution of weightage. How much should be asked from unit? Unit 1 may be a very elementary and introductory topic. And how what is the weightage to be given these units? And in the second unit, what I'm going to ask, because I am going to use more weightage, I will bring in for a weighted question for the second unit. Distribution may be uniform. Unit 1 and unit 2. First questions I am going to ask in unit 1 and unit 2. I have to generate questions and person weightage decided and classify the questions as given. So, blueprint of the question paper, you have to just prepare a blueprint like this. It is better if you sit together in your room and discuss for this particular type of papers will be going in with this type of blueprint. So I'll ask question number 1, A, section A bar, B or C. So like that, chapter wise total in options கொடுக்க முடியும். With options எத்தனை questions கொடுக்கலாம், without options என்னென்ன questions கொடுக்கலாம். So all those things, a clear blueprint depending upon your subject, you just decide. And you can classify the questions as objective type or short answer or long answer. That is one. What is the length of the answers that is required from the student? Based on that, I will be classifying it. Then classifying as per the objectives. Based on the Bloom's taxonomy, whether my question will test the knowledge level or the understanding level or the application level, whether it is going to test whether on the skills acquired and synthesis, analysis or evaluation. So all these things based on the objectives also you can classify your questions. So classification as per characteristics, whether it is the open response, what are the values, and core component, what are the core components, and what are the life skills acquired in that particular unit, and what is my question is expected to bring out, which life skill that I have to bring out. So based on that objective, question type, question number and characteristics, you can just form the question paper. So what are the life skills that you can test in your assessment? So the life skills that can be tested in your assessment, I have given a list. In self-awareness, empathy, problem solving, decision making, effective communication, interpersonal relationships, creative thinking, critical thinking, coping with emotions and coping with stress. And how many of these life skills is incorporated in program educational objectives and program outcomes? So what, see, from starting we have come down to the question-based setting now. And from the question-based setting, we are just thinking of top approach. Well, we are thinking of what is the achievement. And question-based should all these skills. And what are core components? The assessment will be test all these things. This has taken up from national education. And what are the values that have been tested? Punctuality, dignity of people, gender equality, scientific attitude, practical religion. So this education will it be bringing out all these values and skills, and my assessment will be looking into these factors also. So 3 areas of my questioning is first, increasing my attainment. Course outcomes attainment, program attainment, these things I will be doing, whether the institution is attaining its goals. So if rubrics and question setting will be an idea of what the level of attainment, and I will be increasing it. And if my level of attainment is 2 out of 3-point scale, then I will try to increase it to 2.5 or 2.6. And enhancing retention. While doing this, increasing the attainment, I should not go below my 2. So I have to retain my scoring and I have to encourage participation from all stakeholders. So the purpose of the question is this. They can help the teacher gauge how effectively pupils are learning. The question paper setting is not to show what I know as a teacher. It is, the purpose is to bring out what the students have understood from the way of my teaching and my teaching. So what I have to do is, my question paper questioning, it should bring out the inherent talents of my students. What is the inherent talent? What is the attitude of my student? And what is the skill level of my student? So only to bring that out into focus, I am setting up my question not to show that how well I have mastered the subject. and how from the nook and corners I have taken the question. As I told you earlier, it is not tightening a bolt, but it is planting a seed. Therefore, how a student has to be treated through assessment. You have to be very, very careful, and you should know what is the purpose of your questioning. And this questioning can assist the teacher in forward planning. So as I told you, if a set of students have not done well in the grammatical area, spelling and grammatical area, then what I can do is, for my department, I can introduce a paper on communication skills, or I can introduce a certificate course which my students can take up after hours. So this rubrics will help you in forward planning, and they can be used to involve pupils in ongoing classwork. They can give pupils opportunities to articulate their understanding, and the students' communication skills and social skills can also be improved because of this questioning. See, just assessment and questioning, don't think of only 4 question papers which you are going to give in print to the students. Think of questioning inside the classrooms also. So again and again, I am reiterating, this questioning is not a one-day or one-time practice. The assessment is to be done every day, every minute, whenever you are in contact with your students, or even in offline also. Now, here the students can be invited to ask questions themselves, which can lead to more sophisticated discussions. So in the class, you can split the class into different groups, and you can ask them to learn a particular topic in the previous day itself, and you can, the next day, any question can be asked by one group and can be posed to the other group. You just encourage the students to answer, because so இவங்க ட்ரிக்கியா கேட்கணுங்கிறதுக்காக இவங்க கூட ரெஃபர் பண்ணி படிச்சுட்டு வரலாம். That will encourage self-learning, and that will encourage participatory learning. And to develop interest and motivate students to become actively involved in lessons. And the purpose of questioning is to develop critical thinking skills and inquiring attitudes. And also, this questioning is to review and summarize previous lessons. So every day when you start your class, just review and summarize on your previous lessons. So what are the types of questions? Already we have seen 2 types of questions. One is open-ended and closed-ended questions. So in open questions, you can get a good deal of information, which we have discussed already. They often begin with the words what, why, when, who, like that. This makes your student to speak this open questions. Whereas in closed questions, I am expecting a yes or no answer, or true or false, or one word. So here you have to exercise extra care. Too many closed questions can cause frustration and shut down conversation. Yes or no questions, students may find it difficult. And you have to ask specific questions. These questions are used to determine facts. For example, how much did you spend on that? So there will be specific answers for such type of questions. And sometimes you have to go into probing questions to know how well your students they have understood the subject. Okay. Then hypothetical questions. Suppose the situation இப்படி இல்லாம அப்படி இருந்திருந்தா நீங்க என்ன பண்ணிருப்பீங்க? So some such type hypothetical questions also you can give, and these pose a theoretical situation in the future. For example, what would you do if? These can be used to get others to think of new situations. இப்படி இருந்தா என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க? Actually காந்திஜி கிட்ட ஒரு hypothetical questions கேட்டாங்க. ஒரு புலி வருது, அங்க உங்க அம்மா உங்க அப்பா நீங்க எல்லாரும் இருக்கீங்க, நீங்க அப்பா அவங்க 2 கையிலையும் நான் காப்பாத்துவேன். So hypothetical questions is bringing out what is the love Gandhi has got for his parents. So that type of hypothetical questions can bring out the imaginative skills or the cognitive skills of the students, and it can bring out that will give you an idea of what sort of attitude your student is having. Because in OEA, we concentrate not only on knowledge and skills, we also worry about the attitude of my children. And reflective questions. You can use these reflective questions to reflect back what you think a speaker has said. ஏன் அந்த பையன் இப்படி சொன்னான், ஒருவேளை அவன் இது சரியா புரிஞ்சுக்கலையோ, அந்த மாதிரி நாம யோசிக்கிற மாதிரி reflective questions also you can ask in your classes. And leading questions. These leading questions, they are used to gain acceptance of your view. I want to give the students, this is what they should think, or this is what they have to know about the concept. So what you can do is, you can start with what is the probability. You start with that. Today whether it is going to rain or not. And starting from that, how do you say? Why do you say? Then you go up and you see then what is the probability. What is the signs of chances? So the leading questions can be asked inside the classroom. So now all the question paper setting, it has to be based on the Bloom's taxonomy. So according to Benjamin Bloom and his colleagues, there are 6 levels of cognition. And I need not elaborate on this because you must have heard so many times the different knowledge levels. Knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Like 20 years back, at that time also Bloom's taxonomy was there, and at that time also the same 6 levels of cognitive needs were there. So now they are slightly modified into new terminology. Instead of knowledge, we are talking about the remembrance level, and comprehension, what is the understanding level of my student, and applying level, analyzing level, and how he is evaluating. And instead of evaluation, I am talking about whether he is having a creative skill. So the original terms are equal to the new terms: remembering, understanding, applying, evaluating, and creating. So in the 6 cognitive levels, the lower order levels are knowledge, that is remembering level, and comprehension, understanding level. In the knowledge level, your questions will bring out what the student can memorize and how well he can recall the terms and facts. So here the keywords are memorize, define, identify, repeat, recall, state, write, list, and name. In the comprehension level, it is slightly higher than the remembrance level. In the particular, whether he has understood, that I will be checking up. So here I will be using the keywords describe, distinguish, explain, interact, predict, recognize, summarize. And the remaining 4 levels are higher order levels. So in the application level, application questions encourage the students to apply or transfer learning to their own life or to a context different than one in which it was learned. So, classroom teaching la ungalku enna neenga problem pattீங்களோ adula irundhu various கொடுத்து நீங்க வேற ஒரு situation கொடுத்து நீங்க questions கேட்டிருந்தீங்கன்னா then it comes under the application level. He must know the basic concept. He, apart from remembering it, he should have understood it. And now he must know how to apply it to a different situation. And analysis, here, these questions encourage students to break material into parts, describe patterns and relationships among parts, to subdivide information and to show how it is put together. So again, apply, compare, contrast, demonstrate, examine, relate, solve, use. இதெல்லாம் வந்து application level keywords. Analyze, differentiate, distinguish, explain, infer, relate, research, and separate. Then these are all the keywords related to analysis. Now you may be wondering, few keywords, they are getting repeated in various levels. So you have to make a decision whether the question belongs to the higher order knowledge level or the lower order level, whether it is belonging to K1, K3, K4. The mere words, keywords will not define the knowledge level of the students. Just to use the definition of, remembrance level. Just because you have used the word use, it will not show that the knowledge level is K3. And in synthesis, these questions encourage students to create something new by using a combination of ideas from different sources to form a new whole. So here the keywords arrange, combine, create. So he will be knowing how to develop or formulate models, how to integrate and organize things. And evaluation, he will be judging. Evaluation questions encourage the students to develop opinions and make value decisions about issues based on specific criteria. So here I have listed out some useful verbs for different knowledge levels. So you can see useful verbs for the knowledge level, K1 level. What will be the sample questions? For K2 level, again, we are giving some useful verbs. What will be the sample questions tense? Can you provide an example of what you mean? Like that you can ask. Can you distinguish between these two? Who was the key character? Say for applying, then you are having useful verbs and sample questions. For analyzing, for evaluating, and for creating, we have it. Okay. So when you are having useful verbs and sample questions tense, how to apply this Bloom's taxonomy? Can you give a sample question? See, I was thinking in the subject because it is an assorted crowd. So what I have done is I have just taken out a fairy tale. Children Goldilocks and Three Bears. Most of you might be knowing this story. You would have told this story to your children. In case if it is not so, then I will just give you a small recap on the story. There is a small child known as Goldilocks. In the morning, she will be walking into the forest, then for a long time, and she will become very tired. And when she was very tired, she was just looking up into the inside the forest. There was a cave, and she will be getting into the cave. And when she goes into the cave, what happens? And she is looking on a dining table, three cups of porridge. So when the Goldilocks, she was too tired, and now she is hungry also. So what she is doing, she just takes one spoon out of the first cup. So it is very hot. She keeps the cup down, and then she takes up the second cup. Now she takes, cold. Then she keeps it down on the table. Then she takes up this. It's very nice. Just right. So she the complete bowl. Then she goes inside her. She sees chair. How she sees chair. She finds it too hard. So she gets up. Then she goes and sits on the second chair. She finds so she goes to her chair. It's very feels comfortable and she is sitting on that chair. At that time, the entire chair breaks down and it is going to pieces. Now, this Goldilocks is very, very tired and she has completed her meals. So she wants to lie down, and so she walks inside the cave a little further. And there she sees three bed. She thinks it is too rough. Then she comes to the second bed, and that is also she is not finding it comfortable. She is saying, "Oh, you know, soft." So then she gets into the third bed. Now, in the third bed, she finds it very comfortable. So she starts sleeping. This is what Goldilocks is doing. When while she is sleeping, three bears, and the cave, and then the three bears are அவங்க மூணு பேரும் மதர் பேர், ஃபாதர் பேர் அண்ட் குட்டி பேர் மூணு பேரும் வெளியில இருக்காங்க. ஸோ கமிங் இன்சைட். உள்ள வந்த உடனே டேபிள் பார்க்காங்க. டேபிள் பார்த்தா somebody has taken porridge from my cup. உடனே அப்பா பேர் சொல்றாரு. உடனே மதர் பேர் என்னோட கப்ல இருந்து எடுத்திருக்காங்க. Whereas this cutie bear it is feeling very bad, and somebody has eaten completely from my bowl. Next, they are walking further inside, and they are looking at the chair. Chairs பார்க்கும்போது somebody has tried to sit on my chair. That is what the father bear said. Then mother bear says, yes, in my chair also they have tried to sit on my chair. Now the cutie bear, it starts crying. Somebody has tried to sit on my chair, and also they have broken my chair. So it starts crying. Next, further they are going inside. At that time, this father, he says, Goldilocks wait for a sleep. How would you feel if you were great there? Aluviya, sleepiya, illa vera edavadhu kashtapaduveenga? Then the student has to analyze what will be the feelings of the baby bear, and she has to think why Goldilocks went for a sleep, because she knows it is somebody else. Okay. So in somebody else's place, and what kind of person do you think Goldilocks is, and why? So now you have to think. Goldilocks, he has entered, manners-less. What do you think? So this may various methods of mixed proportioning techniques. Now, does this CO reflects the intended measurement from CO1? Is it using any engineering knowledge? Explain the various methods of mixed proportioning techniques. Does the assessment correlates well with this CO? See, here the course outcome does not reflect the intention of measuring application of either science, maths or engineering principles. So inga adella edume kedayadu. Therefore, here this course outcome with the first program outcome 1 is very weak. Now you think of a second situation. Able to apply mixed proportion principles to design a concrete mix for field applications. For that, CO3, I am just giving out one question. And again, if this reflects the intended measurement, CO3 is mapped now with PO2. And what is my PO2? It is problem analysis. I have to identify, formulate, review research literature, and analyze complex engineering problems. That is my PO2. Is this question is measuring that relationship. CO3 and PO2 mapping is there. I have to check that. In this case, the assessment does not test the student's ability to identify, formulate, and do some research. Kandipa illave illa. Therefore, the strength of the mapping of CO3 for PO2, this is not good. Whereas it can be mapped well with PO1 because it is involving the application of engineering fundamentals. Next, I will be going in for situation 3, where I am trying to map CO3 with PO2 and PO3. In PO3, design development of solutions. So what is my assessment and assignment? See, you need not worry too much about this. Because just to give you a flavor of this, I have included, and this example, it shows the assessment. The assessment correlates well with the CO and hence maps strongly with PO2 and PO3. So what you have to do is, based on your subject, you have to give different assessments and you have to check whether your course outcomes are mapped with your POs, and you have to formulate a table like this. One is this I want to show, a table, how you have to formulate a table. So I will discuss that in detail now. What is the CO-PO relationship? What I'm going to do is to have a CO-PO relationship, course outcome and program outcome relationship. So each CO can be identified to address a subset of POs. The first thing you have to remember is, each course outcomes I would have defined CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4. Whereas for the entire program outcomes I have decided already, PO1, PO2, PO3, etc. One is lifelong learning, the other one is soft skill, computer skills is PO2, and PO3 is being part of a team player, PO4 is something else. So like that I would have defined a set of POs, whereas course outcomes are course specific. So in the course specific, what I would have defined is, my student must be able to perform differentiation and integration on studying this. And the second will be, he will know how to apply this differentiation and integration to solve societal and industrial problems. So I have defined COs and POs relevant to my program and relevant to my course. So in the program outcomes, already it is generic, it is generalized. Whereas course outcomes are course specific. So in the course specific also we have got a set of CO 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So based on the number of COs and the sessions dedicated to them, it is possible to identify the strength of the mapping 1, 2 or 3 to POs. Again, as I told you, this course outcomes need not have a very strong relationship with every program outcome. That you have to remember. So PO, if you are defining for your program outcome as 6 or 7, each course I will be defining the course outcomes to be 1 to 5, maximum 5 or 6. So now the first course outcome, it may be addressing PO1, whereas it may not be addressing PO2, PO3, PO4, and again this PO1, it may be addressing PO5 and PO6. Similarly, CO2, it will not be addressing PO1, whereas it will be addressing my PO2, PO3 and PO4. So like that, based on the number of COs and the sessions dedicated to them, we can identify the strength of the mapping 1, 2 or 3 to the POs. Based on these strengths of selected POs, a CO matrix can be established. So, for measuring PO in direct method, a CO-PO matrix is used to measure the PO. The COs are linked to the PO using the CO versus PO matrix as stated in the course syllabus blueprint. Because the syllabus போடும்போதே நம்ம வந்து அது map ஆகுதா இல்லையாங்கிறது நம்ம decide பண்ணிருப்போம். So when designing the CO, lecturers of each course map their CO to the appropriate PO to ensure that all PO are delivered throughout the study. Now, defining CO weightage for a PO in CO-PO matrix, the weightage scale can be of any format, 1 to 10, 1 to 100. But normally we are going for the scale 1 to 3. So, உங்களுக்கு வந்து 100 POs கூட நீங்க வச்சுட்டு நீங்க மேப் ஆயிருக்கு அல்லது ஒரு பாயிண்ட் ஒரு மார்க்குக்கு இது மேப் ஆயிருக்கு, 2% இது மேப் ஆயிருக்கு, 3% மேப் ஆயிருக்கு, நீங்க 100% வரைக்கும் கூட மேப் ஆயிருக்கா இல்லையாங்கிறத நீங்க செக் பண்ணலாம். Again, it will be very cumbersome. So as I mentioned earlier, limit this to only 3 to 5. Like that, here also the scale of 1 to 3 will help us to simplify our calculations. So I will give 1, I will award 1 if my course outcome satisfies the program outcome in a very, very low manner. That is, it's not at all very much correlated, then I will just give 1. Then if the relationship is medium, then I can go and award 2. And if it's very high, then I will give 3 representation. See, for example, my student should have a logical skill and my student should have a communication skill. Then I am giving one PO as communication skill and another PO as logical skill. A language paper, it will give a very high degree of communication skill, whereas a mathematics paper will give a very high degree of logical skills, and a computer science paper will give a very high degree of IT skills. So when I am having here communication skill, IT skill and logical skill included in my program outcomes, my CO, depending upon the paper, if it is a language paper, it will be having a very, very high degree correlation. So I will award 3 to the communication. That is PO3, communication skills. This will be given 3. That is for the remaining, I will give only 1 or 2. Then this matrix, PO/CO matrix is done in principle. Then you will know whether the paper is very strong or not. I will share my experience with you. When I was designing our curriculum, what we have found out was our curriculum was having a very low grading in terms of IT skills. So what we have done is, in each and every paper, to make it strong and to make it high, for all the papers we have brought in, we have included one free and open source software, depending upon the nature of the paper. So we have discussed and we have brought in nearly 10 free and open source softwares were included in the curriculum itself. So my syllabus is accompanied with 10 different application softwares that will be learned by the students. Therefore, her IT skill is higher even than a computer science student. Then this can be done only if you consciously make an effort to do this CO/PO matrix. And if you are just putting CO/PO matrix, in certain cases, the CO may not be giving a strong correlation with either one of the POs. In that case, you can just leave it and you will be awarding only 1. So, how this course outcome attainment is calculated? So, in the first step, the marks obtained by the students for each CO in an examination are listed out. I will show you the figure, it is given in the next slide. And level of CO attainment is based on the percentage of students above the threshold percentage. See, for example, see, already for the evaluation, you have done certain evaluation assessment in the earlier case. Continuously you have done, and you have given assignments, you have asked them to give oral presentations, you have asked them to give a visual presentation, all those things you have done, and there you have had, you designed the rubrics to evaluate the performance of your students in every course. So that is one rubric which is over. Now I am coming down at the course level as the class together, whether my course outcomes are achieved. That I want to check. So now I'm introducing another rubric. So here, if 4 students are taking up the examination, now I am giving them 3 tests, test 1, test 2 and models. In the test 1, I have asked questions relevant only to CO1 and CO2. I have not worried about CO3, CO4, CO5. And the marks scored by each student under the criteria CO1, CO2, that is given and the total is found out. 30, 40. So here's the first student has scored 70, 25, 37. The second student has scored 62. Likewise, for test 2, I have asked questions only relevant to CO3, CO4 and CO5. Because in the first test, I have ignored CO3, CO4 and CO5. Therefore, in the second test, I have not included questions on CO1 and CO2. Instead, I have included questions on CO3, 4, 5. So, all the 5 course outcomes are given equal weightage in my test papers. Whereas model examination, it is for the entire portion. Therefore, what I have done is, I have given CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4, CO5, all 3 questions. But they need not be equally distributed. Every distributed students every mark I have recorded here. Similarly, in the university examination also we have just done what is the mark scored by the student, that is also recorded. Now, how many students have attended each test? 4 students have attended. And for test 1, what is the maximum marks awarded for the questions asked under CO1? It is only 50. And what is the maximum marks awarded that can be awarded under CO2? That is also 50. Now, threshold word. So here I have just given a rubric. If 50% of the students have scored above 50%, then I will award only 1 mark. It is low level of achievement. If 60% of the students have scored above 50%, then I will award 2 marks. It is medium. Then 70% of the students have scored above 50%, then we will give them 3 marks. Now you just have a look at this. Now 50 marks are the maximum marks for the course. So threshold were this 50%. How do you fix the 50%? Should it always be 50%? Not necessarily. You can check the difficulty level of the paper and you can check the input, student input of your institution. So based on your department student input, if you are getting creamy students, then you can even take it this to 75% or 80%. So 50% of the students scoring above 80%, they in a low down. 60% of the students scoring 80%, it is medium. Only 70% of the students score 80%, it is high level. So that is also you can have, provided you are having a very high aim. And depending upon the subject, எல்லா subjectly 50% மேல எல்லாரும் வாங்குவாங்களா? It is also difficult. So when the subject is very, very difficult, then what you can do is you can even lower the threshold level. So in India, I have fixed the threshold level as 50% for easy calculation. அவ்வளவுதான். There only 60% எடுத்துக்கலாம், 60% எடுத்தா calculation போடுறது கஷ்டமா இருக்கும். 50% 2 ஆல டிவைட் பண்ணிக்கலாமேங்கிறதுனால I have just given it as 50%. So now threshold marks I have fixed is 50%. Therefore, out of this maximum of 50, threshold level is 25. So how many students have scored above this 25? 2 students. So out of 4 students, 2 students, that is only 50% of the students have scored above 50%. Therefore, I am just giving the level as 1. And similarly for CO2, if you consider, how many students have scored more than 25? See, 1, 2, 3. 3 students have scored more than 25. So number of students who have scored more than 25 marks is 3. That is, about 75% of the students have scored. So 75% of the students have scored above 50%, which makes the level to be 3. So like that, I will be giving marks throughout. Okay. So the level of this is assigned based on the second rubric. So this slide shows what is expected. Then, excuse me. Now, in your syllabus, you have formed the CO-PO matrix. So the course outcome is mapped with PO1 stronger. If it is not strong, if it is very strong, I give 3. If it is medium, I give 2. And there is no correlation, then there is no correlation. I will just put it as 0. So I have formed the CO-PO matrix also. Right? Then for a subject, here this is C102 is the subject. For this subject, CO-PO matrix, I have just formulated. It is CO1, PO1, 3 or 2 or 0, 0. All this matrix has been completed. And now, what is this value? I just find out the average. Average of all these values. CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4, CO5. Just find out the average and you just put it for corresponding to the class. So, this is the subject. So, for the entire course, I have found out the average. Okay. Once you have found out the arithmetic mean, then I am calculating this CO attainment. Now, the CO attainment is different. Here it is 3, here it is 2.9. 2.0, it is 2.9. How the CO attainment is calculated? So what I have done is, for the internal examination and assessment, in test 1, CO1 already we have calculated. That we have seen it is equal to 1 only. And CO2, the value in test 1, we have got it as 3. For test 2, it is 0, 0. And model slash CO, because we have not asked any questions in CO1 and CO2 in test 2. Similarly, CO3, CO4, CO5 in test 1, I have not asked any questions. Therefore, here I will not get any score. Whereas here I have got the score as 333 based on the rubrics, how many students have scored more than the threshold level. And in the model examination also, and the internal. So all these components I have found that, and the average value of the internal is found that. Similarly, the university examination also, how the CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4, CO5 are achieved. So that value is also calculated. Then once this is over, we are again finding out an arithmetic mean. So it is 2.87 and 3. Now comes the weightage. What is the weightage you want to give for the internal examination, and what is the weightage you give for the university examination? If I want to give the average weightage, if I want to give the weightage for the internal examination only 20% and for the university 80%, well and good. If I believe in the efficiency and the honesty of my faculty members, then I can fix my internal examination weightage as 50% and university examination weightage as another 50%. By university examination, I mean the end semester examination. So that can be given only 50% weightage. Still more, even in IITs and very leading Western universities, it is totally 100% they depend upon their internal integrity of the faculty members. You can even make it 100% internal. So in some of the papers, we are making it 100% internal. In some of the papers, you can make it 20% weightage can be given. In some of the papers, you can give 50% weightage, depending upon the nature of the paper. See, for example, environmental studies or value education. For value education, why don't you give the weightage for totally 100% weightage to the internal. That can be done if you want to do it. So you fix the weightage. So once you fix the weightage, here I have fixed the weightage as 20% for the internal and 80% for the in-semester examination. Then course attainment is just the calculation. 2.87 multiplied by 20 divided by 100, I get a value. Similarly, 3 into 80 divided by 100, I get this value 2.4. And the final course outcome attainment for the subject, you just add these two and 2.97. That was what was given in the previous slide. Okay. Once you have calculated the course outcome attainment, next, as each course you have to do it. Course 1, course 2, course 3, if you are having 18 papers included in your curriculum, for all 18 papers I will be doing it. Once I have put the course outcome attainment, then I move on to my program outcomes. Again, program outcomes are achieved. Whether the attainment is made in the program outcomes, that is done by two methods. One is direct method, the another one is indirect method. Okay. So in the indirect method, mostly it is survey oriented. What I will be doing is I will be collecting out survey from various stakeholders, current passing out students, stakeholders, alumni, and placement officers. The questions in the survey sheet should represent POs. All these survey needs to be a quantified one. Maravidian 3-point scale, 1, 2, 3. And they must be based on predefined levels like rubrics defined for direct calculation. So, sample rubrics I give. Again, see, already courses individual assessment we had a rubric. Then to calculate the course outcome attainment, we had a second set of rubrics. Now, when you move on to the third one, program level attainment, then also you have to define a rubric where if 60% of the people are giving above, only 80% of the people are awarding 3 gradings, then I will say it is high level of achievement. Therefore, there I will fix it as 3. In between, I will fix it as 2. Now I will go for the indirect PO attainment. PO1, what is the passing students? So if there is a 60 members inside the classroom, 80%, so more than 48%, 48 students should have given 3. In that case, I will take it as 3. Likewise, I will calculate this. I will find out the arithmetic mean. So, PIMN, all POs can be adequately addressed through the selection of 4 courses, and attainable targets can be selected for each of the CO, and these measurements provide the basis for continuous improvement. That is very important point to note. So, in the PO attainment, how do we calculate? We are calculating it in the direct method. Already indirect method I have completed. In the indirect method, I found out the arithmetic mean and we have finished with that. Now, in the direct method, PO attainment is average of COs of a PO that is divided by 3 into final course outcome attainment for the subject. So that I will be calculating, and here PO attainment for PO1, it is calculated as 2.96. So here I have just the entire table, I have summarized it. Now PO attainment, how it is for PO1, PO2, I can see 2.65 for PO1, whereas it is 1.97 for PO5. So then I have a look at this PO attainment. Maybe my program is weak as far as satisfying this PO5. Now what I will do, I will just either modify this PO5 or I will modify my curriculum, and I will be either I will be modifying my teaching learning method. So what is the rectification or the modification that has to be implemented, that I will sit and decide with the board of members, with the parents, with the students, with the management, and with all other stakeholders. So, continuous improvement can be achieved by closing the loop at course level, program level, and institution level. It ensures quality assurance for all the stakeholders. So all attainment analysis is made to provide continuous improvement to either in post delivery or a. And don't think that this is the only way of calculating PO attainment and CO attainment, or what is the weightage to be given and how it has to be calculated. All those things are institution specific. So every day the management, administration, faculty members, students, alumni, all the stakeholders, they must concentrate on what is to be done. As far as, so this rubrics and this COPO attainment, it has to be given the top priority when you are giving out a quality education. So you evaluate the attainment of COs, POs and PEOs, and we will be depending on the attainment levels, and we improve the strategy to either improve the attainment level or raise the target level. See, in one PO1, I have achieved 2 things. I will not be complacent. I will not stay at 2.6. What is next to be done to increase that 2.6 to 2.9? So that way I have to think of. If it is 1.97, what has to be done? If it is 2.6, what I have to do to sustain it, and how well I can improve it, and how I can reach the top level. So that sort of cyclic continuous improvement will lead your institution towards excellence. With this, I express my sincere thanks to Dr. Magesh Kumar, Controller of Examination, Dr. N.R. Shanti Maheshwari, Principal, Dr. Mail Murugan, Madura College, for having spent a longer time yesterday about the presentation, and Dr. T. Arnachalam, Kumulaguru College of Technology, and Mr. A. Logi Krishnan, Government College of Technology, for the technical support and the encouragement. And finally, I thank the Secretary, Management and Faculty of GVN College and all other participants for your patient listening. Now I am open to questions. I am ready for taking up questions, if any. And one thing I want to emphasize is, as I mentioned earlier, it is a continuous process. In one class, in 2 hours, you cannot learn much. Only you can get an exposure. And this can be understood only by doing. So you have to start practicing consciously in your teaching, and you have to start practicing consciously in your assessment, and only then your teaching and your student caliber and the quality of the institution, everything will go higher. Thank you very much. And I wish every one of the participants all the very best.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear colleagues, is there any clarification? Be free to ask with our chief guest, ma'am.
Also, you can approach me through my email. I will just leave out the PowerPoint slides with the Dr. Magesh, so that you can get it from him if you want. Now you can ask, please. If there are no queries, can we wind up, Dr. Magesh?
Yes, ma'am, we can wind up.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Dear colleagues, please feel free to ask any your clarification. Okay, ma'am, shall we wind up, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am. In your busy schedule, you are spending more more time with us. The Jayabdi, Assistant COE of our college, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Sorry, today is what is duty for Santhi ma'am.
Good evening.
Audible, ma'am. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening to all. I hope today's day was really a day of learning. On behalf of our college, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to the seminar on question paper setting organized by our institution. Today's webinar was full of knowledge and interesting words. It gave a deep insights of OBE, PO, CO, rubrics, and also revealed some interesting facts about types of learners also. At the outset, I thank our chief guest and resource person, Dr.K.SUMATHI, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Mathematics, PSGR Krishnammal College for Women. Ma'am, we are really enlightened with your knowledgeable presentation, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. We are thankful to our Honorable Secretary, sir, for granting permission for organizing such a wonderful webinar. Thank you, sir. I would like to share my gratitude towards our principal, ma'am, for her enthusiastic support. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to thank our director, sir, for enlightening us with his valuable presence and guidance. Thank you, sir. A special thanks to the organizers and my fellow teaching faculties for their unflinching support and coordination. Thank you all. My heartfelt thanks for your active participation. With these warm words and a kind message, we move to the end of today's seminar. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your vote of thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. We can leave.
Okay, I'll leave. Thank you so much.
Thank you, welcome.